You know, when VMware announced ESX 9, IT admins were probably expecting the usual batch of updates. But what they got instead, well, it was the end of an era. It's a fundamental change that basically turns decades of IT practice completely on its head.
And yeah, this is the heart of it right here. For anyone who has ever installed, configured, or managed a vSphere environment, that simple string of characters you'd punch in to activate a host, it's gone. It is now officially a thing of the past.
The really crucial point is this shift away from perpetual licenses. You know, the old way. You buy it once, you own it forever. That's been replaced by a subscription model. Now, your license to even operate is tied directly to an active subscription with Broadcom. That whole feeling of ownership is just gone. Now, you're just renting.
So, to understand why this is all happening, we really need to talk about one company, Broadcom. Their acquisition of VMware back in late 2023 is what set this entire chain of events in motion.
Honestly, this isn't a new strategy for Broadcom at all. We have seen this exact playbook before. They acquire these massive software companies like CA Technologies and Symantec, and then they systematically restructure them around high-margin subscription models. VMware is really just the latest and biggest chapter in that story. So why do they do it? Well, from their perspective, it's all about business efficiency. Subscriptions create these really predictable recurring revenue streams, which, Wall Street absolutely loves. But it's more than that. It also creates a much tighter customer lock-in. I mean, when your software activation literally depends on their servers, it becomes a lot harder to delay a renewal or even think about switching to a competitor.
Okay, so that's the logic from the boardroom. But what does this actually mean for the system administrators out there on the front lines? The people who actually have to make this work every single day.
A VMware employee confirmed it directly. The new system uses activation files, and those files have to be cryptographically signed by Broadcom servers. There's no more static key. Instead, your environment has to prove its entitlement by communicating, in one way or another, with the mothership.
And this immediately raises the million-dollar question for countless organizations out there in finance, government, or sensitive research. What happens in those secure, air-gapped environments that, by their very design, have absolutely no connection to the outside world?
Well, there is a workaround, but let's call it clunky. First, you have to generate a request file from your offline system. Second, you have to securely move that file to an internet-connected machine. Third, you upload it to Broadcom's licensing portal. And finally, you download the signed response file and carry it all the way back. So yeah, it works, but it's a far cry from just typing in a key.
The irony here is just palpable. VMware's entire empire was built on the idea of simplifying IT, and yet this new licensing process feels like a giant step backward. As one admin put it perfectly, this isn't progress, it's paperwork.
Now, to be fair, VMware isn't inventing this model out of thin air. The entire software industry is sprinting towards subscriptions. But there's a key difference, a really big one, when you apply this model to the foundational layer of a data center.
We've all seen this with our creative software and our Office suites, right? Adobe and Microsoft made this switch years ago, and for the most part, we all just kind of adapted.
But here's the critical distinction. If your Photoshop subscription fails to activate, you can't edit a photo for a while. Annoying, for sure, but that's about it. If your vSphere license fails to activate, you could be looking at a full-blown data center outage. Enterprise infrastructure is the critical path, and the margin for error is basically zero.
This really lays out the two sides of the coin. For Broadcom, the benefits are crystal clear: recurring revenue and tighter customer lock-in. For the IT admin, the drawbacks are just as clear: new dependencies, more complex procedures, and a potential new point of failure that directly impacts uptime and your whole security posture.
When you step back and look at the big picture, you start to see that this isn't just about licensing technology. It's about a fundamental shift in the relationship between the vendor and the user. It's about who holds the control. Under the old perpetual model, the IT department was in the driver's seat. You decided when to upgrade, you decided when to renew support, and you decided how to manage your assets. This erosion of control directly affects how teams budget for the future and plan their technology roadmaps. It introduces a whole new level of vendor dependency.
To supposedly ease the transition, ESX 9 comes with a 90-day trial period, which is up from the old 60 days. But don't mistake this for some generous feature. It's really just a countdown timer, a short grace period before mandatory compliance with the new subscription model kicks in.
And all of this brings us right back to our original question. With the license key gone isn't really a problem. Well, as with most things in tech, the answer really depends on who you ask.
From Broadcom's perspective, this is a smart business move that aligns VMware with modern software models. But for the thousands of admins who spent decades building self-sufficient, independent environments, this feels like a violation of a long-standing trust. The very independence they valued is now being treated as a liability.
And that leaves us with the real takeaway. This move by VMware is just part of a much larger industry trend toward cloud-connected, service-based everything. And it forces us to ask a really fundamental question about the future of IT. When everything you run depends on a subscription and a connection back to the vendor, who is truly in control of your own infrastructure?